My name is Olga Karatch. I'm from Belarus. Our house organization, we are grassroots human rights and peace builders organization. We are working since December 2005, and I'm very, very grateful to BSV for so long term partnership, because by my opinion, of course, we have impact for the peaceful protest in Belarus, but BSV has the biggest impact for the peaceful protest in Belarus, because we increased our capacities, and we had some kind of preparation for any kind of such protest or situation. And of course, for us now, we are using the knowledge in this conflict resolution, how to organize peaceful protest, and everything is very helpful now. Of course, we have several challenges, except the very, very brutal violations. I would like to say that on August 9, we had president elections, and after the day, we still have very big protests, mass protests in Belarus, and at the same time, very brutal and bloody repressions against peaceful Belarusians, including the rapes of protesters in prison by police, including killing of people, very serious tortures, and very serious pressure for everybody in Belarus. Also, the state bodies kidnap children from families now, and unfortunately we have such cases. So everything is very serious, and we have some kind of, as we speak or we tell sometimes, we have some kind of hybrid war in Belarus. Not real war, but hybrid war, but with real weapons. And of course, in this situation, now nobody knows how many people are repressed, but human rights defenders organizations speak about minimum 20,000 cases under tortures, maybe more. Nobody knows, but we are working to collect statistics and documents and provide the cases on very high international level to UN structures, to international human rights organizations. But I would like to have special focus for repressions and how to help people to become from victims to survivors. And of course, in this situation of such mass repressions, the question number one, how people cannot be alone, how we can organize the support that people receive the assistance so fast as possible. So we created several tools, for example, both in Telegram channel, where people can write us. We have several networks of people inside our organization, like psychologists, lawyers, human rights defenders, and people who just would like to help. And we also organize using your donations and using this possibility. We organize the payment of lawyers and food parcels to the victims of repressions, but with very clear several criteria. In Belarus, we have no independent lawyers. So, and also the human rights defenders, we have no possibility to go to the prisons. It's forbidden. So for us, it's the one and unique possibility to have the stable contact with the prisoner, especially a prisoner under the criminal article. We have more than 400 political prisoners after criminal articles who is imprisoned now. Of course, if you would like to have the stable contact, we have to organize visit of lawyers in prisons. But of course, this is not very easy task, because state lawyers are quite expensive for Belarus. And of course, many people who is repressed and was imprisoned, of course, they lost a job. And we send some kind of food parcels to the families, including the families who has prisoners in, who has some kind of members of family who is in prison. Because in this situation, people can use the food and send some food to prison, maybe sometimes use the food for children, because we have many families with children. But this is some kind of course, humanitarian help, but we have much more strategic goal. We would like to stop the repressions. And as our experience now, is showing if we have a very serious noisy, especially on international area, if we organize lawyers to prison fast, the government start to go back. So for us, it's very important, and we have many cases, like, for example, somebody is just detained after the action. If we can organize a lawyer to visit him or her in police station, usually the person is released. So, and doesn't be in prison longer, even in the situation where another people, unfortunately, who has no the lawyers at the same time, they continue to be in prison. And also we have the same situation with children. Now, our government officially, our government spoke about 300 children from the families of protesters. They're trying to remove from the families for the participation of women, mostly women, of course, in the peaceful protest actions. And of course, in the situation, it's very serious because the children are kidnapped or but if we send the lawyers to the state bodies to show with and to fight, usually the case is cancelled. And even we use the situation with some teenagers like Lev and Jan, for example, who the case was cancelled, and we just bring them outside Belarus because the prosecutor department started the criminal case against the teenagers. The same situation was with police. Two parents, Natalia and German, they were imprisoned for the participation in the protest, and after very big in Gomel, the police gave Natalia 3 days and returned her to her children to live in Belarus. So we organized her very, very urgent trip with children outside Belarus and supported her. Of course, it was sometimes quite complicated because people under very serious tortures, mostly they have very serious panic attack, phobias, paranoia, sometimes very aggressive, they don't trust anybody, you know, so sometimes not easy to work with them, but we bring Natalia outside, and when we spoke publicly that Natalia is outside, the police started the criminal case against her immediately. So they just give us the floor only because we have some kind of scandal about the case. So now the task is number one, how to organize the support of the people directly so fast as possible, but at the same time how to organize the attention, internal and external, to the cases, because in a very, very direct sense, it saves life of people and the tortures are stopped. And we have, or I can speak about such kind of success stories very long time, but at the same time, we have the case of teenager Nikita, 16 years old. He is imprisoned for 3 months in Gomel too, actually. And for example, his parents were not able to visit him, and lawyers cannot. And of course, it was again very noisy situation, and we tried to organize some kind of scandal about the case. The father was in very bad emotional situation and very unstable. He said that he stated me that he's agreed to give his life for his son to stop the tortures. And for me, it was like, oh, sweet side, you know, it's very dangerous situation. But after our involvement, the next day, the government, the police gave the visit of mother of Nikita to prison, and now we have the lawyer to visit Nikita every week. So for us, it's very important because mostly from our practice, if we have the stable contact with prisoner, the tortures are stopped. So for us, how to organize it and how to organize the connection and to stop the tortures, because the tortures, yeah, is very, very, very serious. So I can continue. So Bjorn, just stop me if you see that I speak too long.
No, I think that's interesting to talk. Maybe well, you said that Nikita or his father was in such a distress. So what makes a father overcome the distress to say, okay, well, what can you offer such a person that he said that he was ready? Okay, well, I would even kill myself to get my son out of this situation. I imagine that must be hard or tricky, whatever.
We organized our own network of psychologists, volunteer psychologists, and of course our house has very bad experience in 2009 when our human rights defender Yana Polikova committed suicide as a protest against police violence. So for us, any kind of forced suicide by police is very sensitive topic. Since the moment, and of course in this situation everybody who is speaking about some kind of I'm ready to kill myself and save my son or something like that, for us this is some kind of you know, yellow button to react immediately. And with father, and not only with father, with all people with whom we work, the psychologists are speaking, but at the same time, of course, the father sees the changes in the situation around his son. And by my opinion, I already connected with members of European Parliament. Next week, they are ready to make very serious scandal about case of Nikita and about cases of all children in Belarus who has a risk to be removed only for the participation of women in peaceful protest. Because we have, I didn't tell, but we have one of the challenges in our organization that we start to be very popular. And for us, it's very unexpected situation. For last 6 months now, we have more than 17 million views. And of course, it means that we have huge attention. And even Lukashenko reacts for us and for our speech. And of course, in this situation, we receive many secret documents from police, from state bodies. And one of our secret documents is the document to remove children from families and how to manipulate such kind of international public opinion. So the document will be translated, and the members of European Parliament, as I hope, they will make very serious attention to such kind of cases. And yeah, and of course, another very serious problem now in Belarus, the police and forces, they have balaclava, they have black uniform without any identification. And now we have, unfortunately, many cases when they stolen money, mobile phones from protesters, or even cars. I don't know how to say maradiore. It's some kind of, or ball rings, or some kind of, you know, and of course, when the person is the one in the police station, of course, it's quite complicated to protect. But if we send the lawyers to the police station together with the protesters, for example, to fill protocol, of course, in the situation, police is very, very polite. And of course, it's not the case when they can take mobile phone or money from the bags or something like that. So this is, and of course, for our volunteers, mostly we organize such kind of lawyers for our volunteers who is participating in the peaceful protest. Of course, it's very workable, because we have many women who was in very panic attack because they're afraid of rapes by police in police station. And of course, it's very hard to say, don't be afraid, you know. So because this is very serious threat now. And of course, in this situation, if she has the support from the lawyer and she's going together with lawyer or human rights defender from our team, of course, in this situation, she feels much better and brave. And of course, in this situation, she sees the attention of police and very polite police, and she is ready to continue the fight. Because for us, it's very important to organize such kind of non-violent resistance. And still, it's very workable to organize complaints. For example, we work with police structures. We organize mostly from my name, because now I'm one of the faces of public faces of our house. And of course, now in Vilnius, for example, it's not easy to catch me now. And of course, for example, we organize such kind of newsletters to police, for example, with the question, if the man has no any identification, how can I understand he's a bandit or he is policeman? And how can I react if he would like to rape me and to do something illegal? And of course, the police doesn't like the questions. For example, now our courts is trying to stop the group of support. If somebody from the protesters has the court, has the jail, and of course the court says that we cannot open the door because this is the COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. And of course, for example, we send some kind of ways of letters to all courts, the chiefs of courts and the chiefs of prosecutor departments in all cities of Belarus, and to ask them with very stupid question, why the COVID is distributed only in courts or only in police? Why it's not distributed anywhere, and how it's connected with the speech of Lukashenko that the COVID-19 doesn't exist.
Thank you. When you're talking about this not opening the doors, I remember that in 2010 we had this very eye-opening situation where you explained to us, or where the activists explained to us, that where one of the most important things is not to open the door to the police. But at that time, I mean, you had to inform like about 100 volunteers about how to the rules and whatever, how you to behave, and you had like a handful of lawyers or a handful of right defenders. But now I imagine that if you're saying there are thousands or even 10,000 problems, how do you get all this information down back to the volunteers, and how do they? And how can you? I mean, you have how many lawyers do you have to send out to I don't know, to Jodino and to other smaller cities?
Actually, this is very interesting question, because yes, we have about 10,000 volunteers in different cities, and of course the main question is the question of structure and the question of coordination between different people, and sometimes, and very often actually, we have many misunderstandings, even using many online platforms, and of course also the problem that in Belarus very often we have no internet. So the communication between people is complicated because people have no internet for the coordination. I don't know why, but only Telegram channels are working, even without internet, and YouTube channels. It's very strange how it's organized, but people cannot go to social networks, people cannot go to the websites, and now we organize different platforms and different groups, and we are preparing many checklists, templates, instructions. And if you remember 2010, for example, it was not the same because it was not the public request for such kind of templates. We have some, but not so many. And of course, we use streams. Every 2 days I have stream and explain people how we are fighting in peaceful way, where we have the progress, where we have no progress, you know, which kind of steps we are doing as organization. But at this end, also for me, it's very strange that it's really very strange. Before we had something like 500 people, visitors per day to our website. And if we have 1,000 visitors to our website, it was some kind of, wow, this is very, very successful day. Now we have 40,000-50,000 visitors per day to our website, Nash Dom, and of course it's very easy to distribute any information, because people take our information and put links and put the information to different Telegram channels. And now we are very lucky that every big house in Belarus has its own Telegram chat. And sometimes we are included, and even I have to remove myself, because it's impossible to manage everything if you have thousands Telegram chats, you know, but people are really discussing everything and distribute information immediately. It's enough to say something, and this is like see such kind of rapid people's mobilization. And why we are fighting, we return to our very old campaigns, which we organized with BESFAU, for example, People's Deputy. And now many people, we provide the instructions, and many people pressure for members of local councils to ask him the reports, you know. And of course, for local councils, this is quite big stress, because they don't know what to say. We are organizing many different advocacy campaigns. And of course, if we speak about protest, we spend many energy to explain people how it's important, don't answer for the brutal violence from the forces, how it's important to keep the protest in peaceful way. And very often for people, they're just waiting and ask us, okay, this type of action is peaceful or not? You know. And so for us, this is a very serious possibility to speak in some kind of educational way. And of course, it's we receive also we receive many very serious evidence-based evidence, including the evidence from the Akrestina. This is the prison with the most horrible tortures, and also with from several hospitals in Belarus. People from the hospitals make the video, internal video and medical cards of the people who was under the tortures, like proofs. Of course, we are still thinking what to do with such kind of information, because this is private information of people and how to use it. But this is very serious basic evidence of the crimes of regime of Lukashenko. And by my opinion, if we would like to stop it, but we want to stop it, of course, we have to be more visible in our society, but at the same time to have no only protection, but have some kind of non-violent resistance. It means that we have to act to work with police, because this is main violators, to work with the state bodies and to pressure them to follow for human rights and to follow for Belarusian legislation. And Lukashenko is very weak, and he's very nervous, and every day, as we have the joke, the main face of Belarusian protest, or the main leader of Belarusian protest is Alexander Lukashenko, because when the protests are started to be less, Lukashenko has a speech, say something, and the protests are increasing, you know. So this is strange, but this is some kind of struggle. But still we have to do many things, and but at the same time, our previous experience, especially with BESFAU, was very helpful, because main problem of the campaign, we have many new and naive leaders who has no the experience to organize networks, to organize advocacy campaigns, and even they don't understand how to do it and what it, you know. And so in this situation, our experience is very, very requested from Belarusian society.
I just started to ask more questions, because I mean, I remember a short video sequence when during a protest, I think it was a women's protest, or several actually situations where where police tried to arrest somebody, and I remember this very vividly as then one of the protesters ripped off the baklava, so the head was seen and the face was seen, and was like, the police realized, oh, and he ran away back into his van to hide, which had its kind of humorous effect on it. But I wonder if what do you know and what do you think about how do the policemen in Belarus feel now? And if you interact with them, I mean, you write them letters. Is that adding more to the fear, or is this adding them to can you offer them a way out of repression? What can the police do to help you?
Actually, yes, we have several cases when women, mostly, they're trying to take away the mask from the police, and always it was very brutal violence, and even we helped some women to leave Belarus because the police started the criminal cases against the women officially for the trying to kill police. But on video, it was very clear that it was only the question about to take away the mask. Now we have nonviolent pressure for the policemen, and we work for the identification, because our experience is shown if we organize some kind of pressure, of course non-violent, without any threats of physical violence, it's impossible. Of course, especially in small cities, for example, or this policeman did this. Of course, for the neighbors, etc., it was something like they try to ignore him. And this is very serious non-violent threat, because nobody would like to be island, in the situation, especially in small towns and villages. And of course, this is some kind of very good pressure for policemen if we identify the crimes and the activities. But at the same time, still it's a very open question for our society and for us too. On one hand, we would like to build the corridor, how the police can go out from the situation, can go out from the killing of people. But at the same time, of course, for people, now we have very huge discussion. Can we pardon them if they already killed or raped people? This is very hard question, and not easy to answer. Not easy to answer, especially when people see the cases very, very serious tortures, and so this is maybe what we need from BSV and from all our friends who is here and who is sitting here, how to find the solution. Because especially rapes of children protesters in prison, it was maybe the most horrible cases. And yeah, and after such kind of rapeness, Lukashenko is absolutely toxic for Belarusian society. So it's impossible to accept him at any situation as a chief of Belarus. For people, it's something like, I cannot explain how people react for him. He's like monster. But at the same time, yeah, how to do it with such kind of police killers? We have no compromise and common decision about it.
Yeah. So thank you. I will continue just going on a little bit more in the interview, but I would also open the floor for other people. If you have a question, just maybe raise your hand, and then we give you the floor also to ask questions. Yeah, but it's not so much about the question of Lukashenko, and to pardon and whatever. So that's something. But definitely, I mean, is there some, you must have, I mean, you are the only oppositional force that I know that has been very actively in contact with police officers all over the country, all over the time. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I got the Zoom thing. Okay. So back to the question. So you're the only organization that I know that has been so actively in police contacts. Do you now profit from these police contacts? What do they enable you to have a more better insight in how not Lukashenko is thinking, but the single policemen are thinking, and do you have them something to offer, at least as long as they didn't yet torture people or whatever?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, because as you remember, together with BSV, we organized a campaign, Belarus Police, after 2010, to stop the sexual harassment against women activists, journalists, and human rights defenders. And the campaign was very successful. And as you know, that we had no any kind of even threats about sexual harassment in police stations again towards women protesters during several years after the campaign. But now we have again, and of course we are in very, very good and stable contact with the police, and even it's a complicated question. Even before the speech of Tikhanovskaya from Lithuania, we had some kind of discussion with very deep policemen from the Ministry of Interior on how they can go to the people's side and how can support Belarusian people. And still we have some kind of many insider information. It was some kind of political mistake of Tikhanovskaya, why the division was cancelled, and why the police didn't come to the Belarusian people side much more active. But at any way, we continue to have many insider information from prisons, from people outside Lukashenko, from his team, and even as I told you, we have many different secret documents, and even if Lukashenko has some kind of secret meetings, mostly we have the information what is happened there. So because and for us again, this is the main question: if the main killers who was really involved to the killing of peaceful people make us any proposal to arrest Lukashenko for some kind of guarantee or amnesty. And for me, still it's possible actually, and we can push the topic maybe in some kind of way, maybe not without success, but maybe with success, because we have the channels of communication. But still, I have no decision. It's for me from the moral side, and maybe why I need the advice from BSV or some kind of discussion, because in this time sometimes it's very hard to take decision making.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we have two questions from the chat now. Christina wants to know whether, as earlier in earlier times, activists of Nash Dom are more safer because you're able to repress them than other activists.
Yeah, we are in most safe situation. Of course, nobody is safe for 100%, but our activists feel much more safe because they have some, how to say, horrible reputation as people who loves to go to court, to write complaints, and to pressure back for the state bodies. So of course we had some situations, even pressure and search of police at home, etc. But mostly we stopped the cases. But it was not even agreement, it was some kind of our pressure for police. So I feel that we are in a much better situation than many others. And why we are, how to say, we have capacity to organize the help to another people too, because we have more space for such kind of activities.
You told me about the cases of two priests. Maybe this could be an example I found it's very visible about how you can help.
Yes, yes. I will tell the case. It's not included actually. We didn't include many our cases in our document, but we just included several to have the impression how we work. And so 2 days ago, вторник, это сколько дней? 3 days ago, 3 days ago at night, the relatives of two priests were contacted us because they were detained by KGB without any explanation from home, and the relatives were afraid that somebody, the priest, have the criminal cases. And of course, the relatives are trying to get the fast help, and other organizations who is providing such kind of help, they were not able to organize it fast. So we organized it, and next day, next morning, the lawyers. Just a moment. The lawyers visited them in the prison, and it was very big surprise even for the state lawyers, because the priests are sitting without any documents, you know, like no protocols, no any documents, that they're imprisoned. And so even for state lawyers, it was like a very unusual situation, and the pressure for police, and next day one priest was released with fine, but at any rate he's released and without any criminal case. And second, the one received 1 week of arrest, but at any way he will be free soon. He will be released soon, and again no criminal case. And for me, so question, how many days the priest can be imprisoned in the prison, criminal prison, you know, they imprisoned to the criminal prison in Belarus without any document that they are imprisoned. We have very common situation when people are imprisoned for several days, and after they have no any documents, they have no passports, and we are paying, for example, sometimes for passports to have new passport, and to help people to have any kind of documents to prove that they are under repressions. Because in my opinion, this is some kind of kidnapping, you know. It's like just.
But it also shows, like in earlier times, you said, well, what we found out that one reason why you're so effective is that the police in Belarus is not really. Well, they're not so experienced. They're so bad in being repressive, but because they are not, they don't think that they will be resistance against their decisions, which makes it much harder. So, like imprisoning somebody without any papers, this is something like laziness or blatant thinking that I can do everything and nobody will punish me. But there's another question from.
I would like to give you also the example how we work. For example, if we identify any policeman who is really brutal, we make some kind of posters for social networks, and the posters are called "It's Me." And so this is like, for example, "It's me. I'm a chief of the criminal police. I was beating people there and there. I was beating the window of the shop," or something like that. And usually the posters in social networks, they receive 600, 800, 1,000 per post, and many likes and many comments. And of course, we have the reaction from the police because usually they start to be much more polite, even after they involved in the repressions. But again, it's of course it's very hard to say tortures are tortures, you know, but at any way, this is very different, very big difference. Or you're raped, or you have any kind of threats of rape, or you just somebody's crying for you, like some kind of threats to that you will be imprisoned or something like that. This is different, and we see the changes in behavior.
There was a question of Stefan. He asked about whether you have training in nonviolence for your activists, or what kind of training do you offer for your volunteers? How is it organized?
Actually, we have many volunteers from zero. It's like the people who is very active now and really very good people, they have zero experience in civil society activism or activities, and they even don't understand what means civil society, what means organizations or networks. And so by my opinion, we should start from very basic information, because sometimes people really don't understand what means nonviolence, and also how people can communicate between each other. Also, how we have the problem that our society is very traumatic. Especially, we have post-trauma syndrome, everyone, especially after the killings of people and the grenades, tanks, and military equipment. So people are very traumatic, and sometimes how to organize emotional self-being, well-being, and how to keep emotions in the situation, and how to share the emotions in right way, and how to support people under trauma, because some situations are very sensitive. Because if we speak about rapes of men, protesters, rapes of men in Belarusian society is absolutely taboo. It's impossible for men to say that you are raped. Absolutely impossible. And now the policemen, when they organize the rapes of men, they are making the video of the process. And of course, in this situation, why I say that we have very bad situation with the forced suicides of protesters, etc., because the men know very well that this is taboo. It was very serious affected to the mental health, but at the same time they know about the video, you know. And this is something. And of course, in this situation, sometimes it's not clear to understand what means how to work with such kind of people, and how to protect them or support them, and even yeah, and this is quite horrible cases. And of course, after the cases, people are very affected. Even volunteers, our volunteers, they're very nervous, and how to organize, for example, in my opinion, the topic how to organize self-support groups on different levels, on different social groups, and marginalized mothers, you know, retired women, you know, volunteers who is working on hotlines, volunteers who is organizing the protest actions, etc., etc. This is very, very helpful.
As we're getting to the end, or maybe if any other if any one of you still has questions that you would like to place it now. And besides that, what do you think about the future? There are several questions. One question is, how long do you think the protests will stay nonviolent? Will they do what? So I mean, that I think is this. And do you think that there is something like a way out? How this will it just collapse, or what do you think? Will it be possible to end the protests somehow? What's going on afterwards? Just give us an outlook.
By my opinion, the process will be continue to be peaceful, because we spent many energy and time to explain people that we need much more sustainable results. And for us, it's very important, of course, to change Lukashenko, because again, he's toxic, but at the same time, for us, it's very important to prepare some kind of ground for sustainable democratical changes. So I'm quite sure for 1,000% that the protest will be continued to peaceful. It will not be any kind of violence from the peaceful people. All provocations which we notice, it was organized by police, and even we have the proofs, like the guy put, for example, cocktail Molotov to the police station, but the guy was identified and he was a policeman. You know. Or for example, the guy in civic uniform who was beaten the window of shop, so he was identified like a chief of the criminal police, you know. And so this is very, very clear. Our side is very, very peaceful, very kind, and people support each other, and it will not be any violence to another side. But of course, what Lukashenko has in his mind, it's problem because many people, even pro-Lukashenko people, we have some kind of strange people who still support Lukashenko, but they're really afraid that he can organize some kind of terrorist in Belarus. So even people who support Lukashenko, they think that it's possible for him to organize such kind of terroristic attack and to kill people just to save the power. So this is not clear how Lukashenko will react, especially on Monday. But it's very clear that the society is really disagree with him and show in many hands, faces, and people they really disagree.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we all understand that this is not only the situation since August 9, but we had many crimes and very horrible stories before. And of course, we have very serious discussion in our society, what to do with such kind of cases and how we can react, or which kind of common agreement, public agreement must be about the cases. But this is very interesting because we had no such kind of discussion before, and by my opinion, at least we have. And but again, it's not easy. It's not easy to find any kind of right solution.
Maybe just some last words about. I'm really interested in. Do you have any kind of influence on the opposition? I mean, it's very hard to say who is the opposition at first hand, but I mean that's. And if you think about who is then now active, or how this may all be end, is there something, you know, like a constructive program of the opposition or of future leaders who will survive? I mean, like that, you know what the opposition stands for, what will be changed. I mean, I was very happy once you started the transgender campaign, for example, because I found that I didn't think that the Belarusian community, that the Belarusian society would be ready for you to for something like that. Is there something like a progressive, constructive outlook view that might develop?
Actually, we have the direct contact with all opposition leaders, including Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. We write each other in Telegram chat, etc. With Veronika Tsepkalo yesterday, he tried to organize Zoom with me, but I was not able because I had some interview yesterday, and so. But we agreed to have some kind of discussion in nearest future, and of course with other opposition leaders too. But we have common vision from opposition forces how the changes should be. The independent courts, free elections, freedom and rehabilitation of all political prisoners, and of course the very, very deeply economical reforms and very, very deeply democratic reforms like the state bodies and education, medical care, everything. Why in Belarus, the whole nation, I'm very happy. People are saying about the capital renovation of our common house, Belarus, where we can find the place for everybody. So the idea is very, very popular now. As we speak about really very serious changes. And I'm very happy that our society is ready for the changes, even in justice system, in police reform. It must be, absolutely must be. and with any kind of reform of another enforced structure. So we have some kind of common points which we agreed, how it should be. Of course, maybe somebody, it's some kind of small discussion about how many state property Belarus has to have, but it's very small details. It's much more important that we all move to one direction. And for me, it's important that we all speak about common level of human rights for everybody, respect of everybody, and of course, common freedoms of expression, freedoms of participation in peaceful actions, and many other things. And now we have many protest structures. Before, if we speak about political parties, of course, Lukashenko tried to destroy them many years, and at least we had some kind of political clubs, much more than political parties. Now it's very clear that we have some kind of political parties for future. Even now it's clear in which kind of ideology, democratic ideology, Democrats, etc. But at the same time, we have many civil society organizations, or many discussions about public reports, who must have the public reports from the state bodies and maybe opposition, and so this is very, very interesting discussion, and by my opinion, we are in very, very right way. Not easy with Lukashenko, again, many blood and many violence, but at the same time, at least we go step by step. Before, I had the impression that we are staying on one place.
So yes, things have started to move. So yes, that's definitely something like that. So thank you very much. I think it was very interesting. For at least even I heard a lot of some new stuff, and I hope you all enjoyed or you found this as informative as I did. And yeah, thank you for donating. And also thank you for well, I hope this was interesting to you, and we can continue to do that, and not maybe, well, hopefully after all has been over. And we'll see. Well,
and Lukashenko and protesters, we expect that everything should be finished until end of December. So it's very interesting. Lukashenko has the impression that he will be continue to be a president, and Belarus will love him again. But protesters have the impression that he will leave Belarus and the post until the end of December. So it's very interesting that we have the same, how to say, deadline.